It came from beyond our solar system, a mysterious wanderer gliding silently through the endless dark. After vanishing behind the sun, it has now returned, glowing more strangely than ever before. The interstellar visitor was back, and for a fleeting moment, the universe itself seemed to pause. A blinding flash tore across the night sky, and for 6 surreal minutes the object known as 3I Atlas shone 4 times brighter than ever recorded. Every major observatory on Earth captured the same dazzling event. The James Webb Telescope soon confirmed it wasn't a normal cosmic explosion. It was something extraordinary, a phenomenon that seemed to break the very laws of physics. Within hours, global space networks scrambled, rerouting missions, adjusting satellites, and repositioning Mars orbiters to track the anomaly. Then suddenly everything went silent. Scientists who once shared data freely stopped speaking altogether. If the universe truly sent us a signal, it means it's trying to tell us something. It began in a quiet town in northern Germany. Under a crystal-clear night sky, amateur astronomer Maria Schultz pointed her 12-inch telescope toward a faint green blur called 3I Atlas. She expected an ordinary observation, but the light on her screen suddenly spiked. A sharp, vertical line like a heartbeat pulsing in the void. Maria double-checked every parameter, from star calibration to humidity levels. But everything was perfect. The light brightened by 1 full magnitude, lasted exactly 6 minutes, and then faded 30 minutes later. Amateur astronomers in Brazil, New Zealand, and Arizona reported the same thing, a synchronized pulse of light, identical down to the second. What started as a simple backyard observation became a global data storm, exploding across social media under the hashtag JWST anomaly. When university labs stepped in, the results were undeniable. No technical glitch, no data corruption. Skywatch Collective, an international citizen science network, verified the event as completely real. No known comet or asteroid had ever produced such a flare. Even Comet 17P Holmes, famous for its 2007 outburst, took 2 full days to reach a similar brightness. Atlas did it in mere minutes, a mystery that defied every astrophysical model. For a few hours, science and wonder collided. Some hailed it as the greatest discovery since oumuamua. Others whispered that it wasn't a comet at all. Then the light faded and the silence returned. Hundreds of telescopes around the globe waited for a second pulse, but none came. And amid that silence, one question echoed through the cosmos. Has the universe just opened its eyes? The discovery spread faster than any scientific alert in modern history. Within hours, observatories from Chile to Japan aimed their instruments at the same patch of sky. From Germany's North Observatory to Hawaii's Keck, Chile's VLT, and China's FAST Array, all canceled their scheduled research to focus on one thing: 3I Atlas. For the first time in decades, the International Astronomical Union called an emergency session. Within 12 hours, 11 nations agreed to a unified observation plan, a rare moment of global cooperation among agencies long divided by rivalry. Suddenly, every eye on Earth turned toward a single visitor from beyond the stars. Data began streaming in from every hemisphere. Robotic telescopes tracked the object's path with perfect precision, confirming that its brightness remained steady throughout. Infrared readings revealed an unusual temperature, too cold for an icy comet, yet too cool to be metallic. Then came something even stranger. Radio telescopes in South Africa detected faint, repeating pulses, rhythmic bursts that some experts described as artificially structured. The timing was no coincidence. These signals appeared at the exact moment the object reached peak brightness, and vanished the instant the light faded. Some theorists proposed that the strange pulses might be nothing more than a natural electromagnetic resonance, an interaction between the object and the solar wind. But others, speaking more cautiously, suggested the unthinkable, that something might be responding. Major media networks across the world quickly labeled it a once-in-a-lifetime cosmic anomaly, As the debate raged, the academic community tried to maintain composure, framing the event as a rare chance for unprecedented global collaboration. For 48 hours, it felt as though humanity had united under a single question. What exactly is 3I Atlas? Then came the silence. After 2 days of constant updates, the data streams from observatories around the world began to slow, and then stopped entirely. Social media posts vanished without explanation. Live telescope feeds went dark. Public dashboards that had displayed real-time readings were suddenly locked behind maintenance notices. Astronomers who had shared hourly updates went silent, and the forums once buzzing with debate fell eerily empty. It felt as though the world had crossed an invisible line, a moment when the truth became too vast, too unsettling to reveal. Behind the scenes, whispers began to spread. Several observatories quietly admitted they had been instructed to halt communications while the data was internally reviewed. Within hours, NASA, the European Space Agency, ESA, and the China National Space Administration, CNSA, each released near-identical statements, claiming the pause was necessary to verify data integrity. But the wording and the timing were too perfect to ignore. For the first time in modern scientific history, the entire global telescope network went silent simultaneously. It wasn't a system failure. It was a decision, deliberate, coordinated, and deeply unsettling. Journalists tried reaching out to the scientists who had been speaking openly on television just a day earlier, but every single one of them refused to comment. Some even deleted their social media accounts entirely, as if trying to erase all traces of their connection to the event. For those who had been following the story from the beginning, it became increasingly obvious that something was being concealed. Amateur astronomers soon noticed that several satellites once aimed at 3I Atlas's coordinates had been redirected elsewhere, leaving an empty patch of sky devoid of any signal. What began as a moment of wonder, a bright, mesmerizing light of hope, had ended in total, unsettling silence. And in that silence, a new kind of fear began to spread. What could make the world's most open scientific community suddenly go quiet overnight? This was not the silence of peace, but the silence of control. Soon, fragments of information began to leak from inside the observatories. A memo, allegedly written by an ESA engineer, revealed shocking details. The object's anti-gravity acceleration was 4 times stronger than predicted. Its infrared radiation had increased by 30 Kelvin, and gamma-ray bursts perfectly matched the trinocular map coordinates. The readings were consistent across multiple telescopes, yet no one could explain them. Instead of publishing the findings, the space agencies locked them away. Servers went offline. Access was revoked overnight. Entire discussion forums vanished, and the scientists who once shared discoveries every hour fell completely silent. One researcher in Chile left behind only a haunting message. They told us to stop looking. Radar later showed that the object had begun to change speed actively. Spectroscopic data revealed a flawless geometric thermal pattern, with echoes repeating every 247 seconds, suspiciously precise, almost mechanical. Within closed scientific groups, one phrase began circulating: containment protocol. It hinted at a global effort to restrict information. Journalists investigating the story soon uncovered an unprecedented level of censorship. Files were deleted. Accounts were suspended. News outlets that had been covering the anomaly suddenly went quiet. Yet, despite all the secrecy, 3I Atlas remained visible through amateur telescopes. Observers noticed something even stranger. Its orbit appeared to shift slightly each night, as if responding to something unseen. Perhaps even to us. The light had vanished, replaced by an uneasy silence. And then came the final revelation. Not through official statements, but through a series of hidden images embedded in a classified data stream. These final frames, captured by the James Webb Space Telescope before communication lines were cut, revealed a shocking truth. 3I Atlas was not alone. Traveling beside it, at a distance of roughly 75 miles, was a smaller, cooler, dimmer object, nearly invisible to the naked eye. At first, astronomers dismissed it as a fragment, a piece of debris torn loose during the initial flare. But further analysis shattered that assumption. The second object didn't drift or waver. It maintained a perfect distance and constant speed, as if held in place by an unseen control. The discovery changed everything. A natural interstellar object could never sustain such flawless, deliberate motion. Even the smallest deviation in mass or velocity should have sent it spiraling off course. Yet this mysterious companion moved with flawless mathematical precision, as if guided by a system built with intent. Spectroscopic readings revealed that its surface reflected almost no sunlight, indicating it was composed of material designed to absorb energy rather than scatter it. But what stunned researchers even more was the faint microwave radiation it emitted, a low-frequency signal consistent with active thermoregulation. In simpler terms, the object appeared to be cooling itself, a behavior never before recorded in any comet or asteroid throughout human history. The revelation caused a silent wave of panic to ripple through the global scientific community. Leaked internal reports from several agencies revealed that the two objects had been officially reclassified under a new title, 3I Atlas Complex. The word complex implied deliberate design, not random cosmic coincidence. Engineers compared the system's configuration to a constellation of artificial satellites, only centuries ahead of current human technology. Some speculated that the smaller object was not following the larger one at all, but rather controlling it, adjusting its course with a precision beyond human comprehension. Soon, daring theories began to emerge from institutions like Harvard and the University of Tokyo. They proposed that 3I Atlas was not a comet, but a self-stabilizing interstellar structure, using feedback energy to maintain its own orbit. The smaller object, they theorized, might serve as a reactor, a guidance system, or even a probe, quietly observing humanity's reaction to its presence. No official confirmation ever came, yet whispers spread through encrypted research channels. Every new analysis, every light curve, every spectral reading seemed to suggest the same forbidden conclusion: design. Then, for a brief moment before the data vanished, a single frame from the James Webb Space Telescope leaked online. In that frame, the object's silhouette gleamed with eerie perfection. Edges too sharp, lines too straight, geometries that nature itself could never create. For those who witnessed it, the realization was chilling. 3I Atlas was not a random visitor swept along by the solar winds. It was an apparition. And if it was not alone, humanity faced a far more terrifying question. What was the second object waiting for? The turning point came after weeks of suffocating silence. 3I Atlas finally spoke. A beam of concentrated radio energy pierced through the noise of the cosmos, deliberately targeted at Earth. The transmission lasted only 12 seconds, but it changed everything. Unlike natural signals, which are chaotic and dispersed, this one had structure, a precise waveform that repeated with mechanical rhythm. Each pulse aligned perfectly with the next, producing mathematically perfect intervals. The beam was tightly focused on the Earth's ecliptic plane, as if whoever or whatever sent it knew exactly where we were. Within seconds, observatories across the planet, in China, Australia, and South Africa's SKA array, detected the identical transmission. The signal's frequency matched the hydrogen spectral line, the universal constant used by humans in our own attempts to communicate with alien life. It was as if the sender had deliberately chosen the one language we could understand. When scientists visualized the signal, the data revealed something extraordinary: 6 perfect hexagons orbiting a single dark void at the center. The geometry was far too exact to be coincidence. Comparing the pattern to James Webb's earlier imagery of the Three-Eye Atlas complex, astronomers found a perfect match. The transmission wasn't random. It was a reflection, an image of itself sent across the void. The message carried structure, intent, and meaning. Panic and speculation erupted across encrypted networks. Some physicists argued that the pattern represented orbital harmonics, a coded map of energy resonances within our solar system. Others saw something darker. The sun was missing. The empty center corresponded exactly to Atlas's current position, as if the signal was declaring that the heart of our solar system had shifted. Theories multiplied rapidly. Some believed the object was synchronizing, tuning itself with the system, like a cosmic instrument preparing for the first note of an unimaginable symphony. Governments quickly intervened. All related data was locked behind classified channels. Official press releases dismissed the event as a case of transient noise. But those who had witnessed the raw recordings knew the truth. The burst was not random. It was communication, a deliberate intelligence signal from something that understood both energy and intention. And then, just as abruptly as it had begun, the transmission ended. The frequencies fell silent. Atlas vanished once more into the darkness, but this time the silence it left behind felt less like distance and more like anticipation. Three-Eye Atlas faded once again, and its twin companion vanished from sight. Scientists were left with only 12 seconds of flawless data, 12 seconds that could rewrite human history. Yet as the initial shock faded, one haunting question remained. If this was merely a test, what would happen when the real message arrived? Exactly 12 seconds after the transmission ended, something extraordinary occurred. Sensors across the planet recorded a subtle oscillation in Earth's magnetic field. It was faint but unnervingly precise, lasting exactly 12 seconds, the same duration as the radio burst. Across Europe, Asia, and North America, geomagnetic observatories detected the same anomaly. The Schumann resonance, the planet's natural electromagnetic heartbeat, shifted by 0.02 Hz, then returned to normal. To most, it was nothing more than coincidence. But to scientists, it was confirmation that the signal had reached Earth, and that the planet had somehow responded. The timing was too perfect, too deliberate. Every magnetometer on Earth reacted in unison, as though an invisible wire within the atmosphere had been plucked, setting the entire planet into vibration. A classified report from the International Asteroid Warning Network, later leaked, confirmed the findings. The phenomenon was studied under the codename Project Helios. According to the report, the radio transmission may have triggered a low-frequency electromagnetic resonance, causing Earth's magnetic field to oscillate in harmony with the signal. Inside Helios, engineers uncovered something even more disturbing. Thousands of systems, radar stations, satellites, and telecom towers had emitted faint electromagnetic pulses simultaneously, as if humanity had unknowingly sent a reply. The echoes traveled back into space, toward the Three-Eye Atlas. It was as if the object had predicted this response all along. Governments quickly dismissed the event as simple interference, but leaked Helios data told another story. The oscillations matched the same 247-second rhythm that had surrounded the object for months. That same frequency was now imprinted within Earth's electromagnetic background. For a fleeting moment, our planet had synchronized with something beyond the solar system. The public never learned the truth. When journalists began to ask questions, the data vanished, replaced by a maintenance notice. Yet a handful of scientists kept copies and reported an unsettling feeling that the connection hadn't been severed, only paused. If Earth had answered once, they wondered, what would happen if it spoke again? Infrared data from the James Webb Telescope revealed more anomalies. Three-Eye Atlas wasn't reflecting sunlight. It was generating its own heat, rising and falling in controlled cycles. Its surface wasn't rough, but carved with straight lines, sharp angles, and geometric precision, like a manufactured structure buried beneath its shell. Delicate magnetic waves pulsed every 247 seconds, perfectly matching Earth's reflected signal. Professor Abel from Harvard's Galileo project called it a synchronization event. He theorized that 3I Atlas wasn't transmitting a message, but tuning itself, aligning its internal energy with the gravitational harmonics of the solar system, like an instrument before a grand symphony. If that theory was true, the 12-second signal had only been the opening note. Official reports avoided any mention of intelligent design, but the unredacted diagram suggested otherwise. Deep within 3I Atlas, automated systems were still operating, adjusting, reacting, and communicating beyond our comprehension. The question was no longer if it was artificial, but why? Why synchronize with the solar system? Was it mapping resonances, testing stability, or waiting for the precise moment to awaken? Every theory led to one chilling conclusion. 3I Atlas wasn't passing through. It was integrating, becoming part of our system itself. Now the object has drifted beyond Mars's orbit, its signals silent, its heat signatures fading. Every telescope on Earth tracks its path as it disappears behind the sun, waiting for its next pulse. NASA and ESA have locked away all related data, labeling it top secret. What remains is only speculation and fear. Did we just witness a natural cosmic event, or the first movement of something far greater, something alive within the stars? Some scientists believe that if synchronization truly occurred, it could be the opening phase of a programmed sequence, one designed to unfold over centuries. Independent researchers warn that 3I Atlas may be correcting its orbit, inching closer to Earth, not to collide, but to observe. Conspiracy theories have exploded. Some claim it's an ancient probe reawakening after eons. Others believe it's part of a vast interstellar network forming around our sun. A few whisper that the world's space agencies know far more than they admit. Now, as the object vanishes behind the sun, silence returns, but not peace. Because if 3I Atlas was only preparing for its next phase, the real question is no longer what, but when will it return? 3I Atlas disappeared, then returned, leaving behind questions that defy every human answer. Perhaps it wasn't a comet, nor an alien craft, but a signal of something far larger, the universe itself awakening. Was this a natural phenomenon or the beginning of a hidden design written in the stars? The answer could come at any moment. So stay vigilant, because when 3I Atlas speaks again, the next 12 seconds might change everything.